In the 1920s and 30s, the Russian émigré Nicholas Roerich was one of the most famous painters in America. His work was shown around the country and widely praised. He is surely the only painter who ever had a skyscraper built for him, a 28-story Art Deco tower called the Master Building on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, completed in 1929. But today, he's been almost entirely forgotten in America. The only place in the country to see a collection of his paintings is in a townhouse at 319 West 107th Street in Manhattan. A brass plaque announces the presence of the Nicholas Roerich Museum. The massive doors, usually closed, do not invite the casually curious. If you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't know it was there. More than 200 of Roerich's tempera paintings and drawings, hung salon style, clamber up the walls and stairwells. Thematically, they reiterate two of his lifelong obsessions. One was mountains. Roerich loved to paint soaring, snow-capped peaks glistening against skies so blue they seemed to pulse. The other was religion and mysticism. Gods, demons, saints, and heroes from Buddhism, Hinduism, and Russian folklore abound in the work. Much of the work is beautiful. Still, between Roerich's style, a kind of Deco Impressionism, an art critic once called a cross between Matisse and Maxfield Parrish, and all that mythical folkloric subject matter, one can see how he might have fallen out of favor with the art world in the later 20th century. Yet the story of Roerich's descent into obscurity has as much to do with international politics and the occult as aesthetics. He was born in Tsarist St. Petersburg in 1874, son of a prosperous lawyer. He became an instructor at the Imperial Academy of Arts, while pursuing avid interests in anthropology and the esoteric. In 1912, he helped found a Buddhist temple in Moscow. In artistic circles, he may be best remembered for inspiring Stravinsky and Diaghilev's 1913 ballet, The Rite of Spring, for which he designed the set and costumes. He and his wife Helena fled Russia after the Revolution of 1917. They emigrated to New York in 1920 and were instantly embraced as celebrities. An exhibition of 400 Roerich paintings, he made some 5,000 in his lifetime, opened in Manhattan to great reviews and went on a multi-city tour. Intense, visionary, and charismatic, Roerich attracted wealthy patrons, including a Wall Street broker named Louis Hork. When Roerich wanted a center to bring art, literature, music, dance, and theater together under one roof, Hork put together the financing for the Master Building, with the art spaces on the lower floors and income-producing apartments above. It opened in November 1929 with an exhibition of some 1,000 Roerich paintings, and art critics raved. But the art was only part of Roerich's appeal. His occult side drew not just fans, but disciples. The Roerichs were devotees of an earlier Russian émigré, Helena Blavatsky, who had founded the Theosophical Society in New York City in 1875. She expounded a melange of Western occultism with ideas borrowed from Buddhist and Hindu traditions, and, her detractors said, a fair amount of hooey. For instance, she claimed to be in telepathic communication with the masters of the ancient wisdom, spiritual guardians who guided mankind's destiny from the hidden kingdom of Shambhala, somewhere north of Tibet. The Roerichs declared that they too were receiving astral communiques from the masters, who instructed them to go to Asia and resurrect Shambhala as a new kingdom, which they would run, ushering in an epoch of world peace. With Roerich's backing, in 1924, they embarked on an extraordinary 5-year expedition up through India into Mongolia, Siberia, and Tibet, where they were detained for months. They didn't find Shambhala. Roerich's next grand idea was the Roerich Pact, an international agreement to protect cultural artifacts. The U.S. and 9 other nations signed it. Roerich was invited to the White House and nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. The search for Shambhala resumed in 1934 with a new patron, Franklin Delano Roosevelt's Secretary of Agriculture, Henry Wallace. Wallace was a Freemason. The Masonic Great Seal that has appeared on the back of the dollar bill since 1935 was his idea. He had a strong interest in the occult. He wrote to Roerich, addressing him as Guru, and backed the painter's 1934 expedition through Mongolia, Manchuria, and China. Ostensibly, its purpose was to collect hardy grasses that might grow in the Dust Bowl, but Roerich was still intent on founding his new kingdom. When they got wind of it, various powers with interests in the region, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, Japan, denounced him as an American spy and provocateur. The U.S. disavowed the expedition. Wallace's support of Roerich would sink Wallace when he ran for president in 1948 and his Dear Guru letters became public. Roerich's star in America plummeted. The Master Building was hit hard by the Depression and went into receivership. Roerich renounced Roerich and sued for $200,000 in unpaid loans. The IRS went after Roerich for tax fraud. By 1938, Roerich had control of the skyscraper, shoved Roerich's paintings into the basement, and ousted Roerich's followers. Roerich wasn't there for his downfall. He had wisely decided to remain in India, where he died in 1947. His true disciples in New York soldiered on. They bought the townhouse in 1949 and gradually gathered enough paintings to be chartered as a museum in 1958. It's open for a few hours, 6 afternoons a week, if you know where to find it.